So let me just say about something related to the Acolyte episode 6. Not only was it boring as far as I'm concerned, but really nothing happened, but the biggest thing of all that really stands out for everyone that actually tuned into this episode was that there was a very creepy, cringeworthy, awkward moment between both Osha and Qimir. Qimir, by the way, is the quote-unquote Sith in the Acolyte series that literally, and I mean literally, goes full 50 Shades of Grey in the Acolyte. We'll discuss that in just a second. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So earlier we talked about this on Twitter/X about what just happened in the Acolyte episode 6, and we're going to be talking about all the damage control coming from Leslye Headland, the showrunner and director of this show, that is obviously going in a downward spiral and in full panic mode over the series. Now, in the Acolyte episode 6, alright, we were promised that there was going to be, and in the worst way possible, a Last Jedi inspired episode, and this is exactly what we got. Well, along with that, we got a sequence where we have the character Qimir literally stripping down and heading into the water, going skinny dipping in front of Osha, and looking at him in the most awkward, creepy way possible that you would have never thought would actually be in Star Wars. Now, you gotta remember that there's a lot of younger audiences tuning into this series and watching this thing. This is Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant that created this episode, and it doesn't shock me in the least at what we just saw, but let's get into this further. Now, specifically, of course, with the Acolyte episode 6 now officially out on Disney+, one major development has to do with Leslye Headland heading into full-on damage control over the Acolyte series as the backlash over episode 6 rises due to creepy and awkward scenes in the latest episode. Now, one crucial update to this now involves Headland delivering the following to fans. Well, I think with what you saw in episode 6, we really wanted to do something bold and different for the fans, and to attract new fans, particularly women, to tune into this episode. And I think you will understand how we used inspiration from other hit films to attract that demographic to check out the Acolyte in all its glory. Guys, I think that what she's alluding to is that she's borrowing elements from 50 Shades of Grey or Twilight or something weird like that and mixing it in with Star Wars. Now, she goes on to continue, we explore a special relationship between Qimir and Osha, something different that you have never seen before in Star Wars, and my inspiration from that came from The Last Jedi and what Rian did with his film. We are changing the meaning of good and bad, good and evil in this one. Now, going into that, we knew we were going to deal with toxic males that are part of this fanbase and part of the problem, and that want nothing to do with something that we did in this episode. We just have to ignore the fans and obtain our own vision to do something unique. You are always going to deal with loud, opinionated fans that come from this minority that you really can't lose sleep over. And I thank Kathy Kennedy for really training me on how to deal with that type of response, and I'm seeing it now, and we expect to see it further with the last 2 episodes. I have seen criticism over all the episodes that we've released for our show, and it's all blown out of proportion, littered with fake critics and out-of-touch critiques on the internet that really don't understand the art of filmmaking. This is Star Wars, and Star Wars has this free, open gate to possibilities, and I really wanted to explore that with episode 6 by cherry-picking aspects not just from The Last Jedi, but from films that aren't even associated with Star Wars. So guys, I think that she's literally admitting here, without even technically admitting it by word, that she literally looked at 50 Shades of Grey and other movies like that, and threw it into Star Wars. Now, she goes on to continue, both Amandla and Kathy were very supportive over my decision, and I just loved Rebecca's performance in this one. Now, I don't know if you guys know who Rebecca is. That is Leslye Headland's wife. She plays Vernestra, alright, the Jedi who uses the lightsaber whip in this series, which, by the way, if you take a close look at Qimir's scar when he lifts up his shirt, you can see the scar resembles a whip actual type of injury. I wouldn't be too shocked if that actually happened. Now, She goes on, I really wanted to make her the all-powerful woman that she could be in this series, and showing who's boss. But fans need to understand that this is not George Lucas' Star Wars anymore. This is about chasing something new and a series for women by women. It can also attract men, but I just think the toxic side of that demographic are going to continue to shout into a void and remain very loud, making themselves heard in an unnecessary way. It was my goal to really explore this growing relationship between Osha and Qimir, take it as you will, and you are going to see that evolve over time. I really don't want to comment on Season 2, I just have no comment on that, but my intention was to explore some of these characters growing together and their forming relationship. I really think we could have done something between Osha and Jeki. There was something there, I think, but we felt her time was done in the show. But I had ideas of exploring their relationship in flashbacks, perhaps. But fans just don't get Star Wars when they experience something nuanced and strange to them. They refuse to accept what is being presented, and I think that's just irresponsible to the brand. Now look guys, this is obviously her going out of control, she's losing her mind, and honestly as far as I see things, I don't think she has a mind to lose at this point. Now, when you look at Leslye Headland, and what she did with the Acolyte Episode 6, must I comment on this again? There's a sequence in here where you literally have a Star Wars villain, kind of equal to Kylo Ren being a villain, where he's a villain, but they kind of soften him up quite a bit. It's the same exact thing. It's a copy and paste of Kylo Ren in the Acolyte. This is all Last Jedi scenario stuff in Acolyte Episode 6. So you have him literally skinny dipping, taking his clothes off, going into the water, Osha looking down at him when he comes out of the water. That's where we're at with Star Wars, and we have young audiences tuning into this thing. And look, I know there's going to be people arguing and challenging this, like, oh, Mike, it's off screen, who cares? Look, you gotta remember that there are, actual younger audiences tuning into the Acolyte, with Episode 6 especially. This doesn't belong in Star Wars. Nothing like this has ever been done in Star Wars at all. And look, we all have to keep making this very clear of where she comes from. She is Harvey Weinstein's former personal assistant. I am not shocked in the least that this is in the Acolyte Episode 6. Now, if you haven't seen this clip, maybe you guys might want to check it out just to kind of let everything sink in to what happened in the Acolyte Episode 6. We even have a moment where Osha puts on the villain's helmet, kind of copying what we saw at the very end of Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin gets the Vader helmet put on. It's done in a near similar exact way, where Leslye Headland is just like Rian Johnson. She can't think about scenes for herself. She has to take things from other movies not connected to Star Wars, or doing copy and paste scenarios from other Star Wars films. That's what you got basically in the overall Episode 6, alright? There's even a sequence where they list this planet as Unknown Planet. I'll take that, of course, in any way, obviously, but I think that what she's alluding to there is that she really wanted to call it Octu, but she really doesn't want to say that. She doesn't want to let everyone know that this is obviously an inspiration from The Last Jedi when she literally just admitted it. She's all over the place, she flip-flops, she doesn't know what she's talking about with this actual series, and there's only 2 episodes left. So I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.